Kicking off our post-lunch sessions, we have a keynote that promises to challenge the way we think about technology and leadership. The AI experience gap. Why every industry keeps making the same mistake is all about uncovering why organizations repeatedly stumble when adopting new tech and how aligning innovation with real-world needs can unlock its full potential. Get ready to learn from our speaker and bronze sponsor, Marisa Murgatroyd, co-founder and lead strategist and facilitator of the Experience Group, as she shares actionable insights that will help you bridge the gap between technology and impact. She helps leaders close the gap between their AI and digital investments. Over the years, she has designed and optimized thousands of customer journeys across industries, consistently outperforming benchmarks in retention, completion, and referrals. The session is packed with takeaways to inspire smarter decision-making and more meaningful outcomes across your organization. Please welcome Marisa Murgatroyd. Give her a big round of applause.
Thank you. All right, hello. Good to see you all. All right, after lunch, you want to do a little bit of a movement, get the energy flowing? Yeah, thank you. He said he was going to be bringing the energy. So, fantastic. Well, I am looking forward to this talk. So, I am the founder of the Experience Group, and I'm here to talk about what I call the AI experience gap. All right, so here we go. Just give me a second. There we go. Yeah, so for the past decade, my work's been focused on one thing, and that's designing customer journeys that actually work for both the people going through them and also the companies who are delivering them. So I use behavioral science frameworks, and that's what makes this work really unique. So it draws heavily on the work of my mentors, Yu-Kai Chow, BJ Fogg, and others, to really help organizations redesign the experiences that their customers have across every touch point and every phase of the relationship to drive very specific outcomes. So what I've learned from designing and optimizing thousands of customer journeys is that when customers disengage, when they quietly stop using a product or stop renewing or stop recommending you, the reason is almost never what the organization thinks that it is. So there's usually something structural that's going on beneath the surface that the organization struggles to see. So increasingly, I'm seeing the same structural problem show up everywhere. And it's tied directly to how organizations are deploying AI across the customer journey. Now, how many of you are deploying significant AI augmentations or interventions in your workflows? Yeah? All right. We got a couple of hands. The significance a little bit too strong, but some. So whether it's aviation, insurance, retail, banking, telecom, tech, you name it. Different industries, different technologies, same problem. Okay? And I believe the organizations in this room have an opportunity to catch the problem early, and the ones who do are going to have a significant competitive advantage over those who don't. So I'm going to start with a simple question, and this question has the power to change everything for you. So every conversation about AI right now, whether it's about automation, whether it's about omni-channel strategy or intelligent workflows or predictive analysis, it all starts with the same question. And that question is, what function can we improve? So, or there could be variations, such as what process can we speed up? What role can we augment? What costs can we reduce? So if you've been in a boardroom or any kind of strategy meeting or vendor pitch, any time in the last couple of years, you've probably heard this question dozens of times, am I right? Maybe your team is bringing you this particular question. So every time the logic is the same. Find the function, deploy the AI, measure the savings, and basically scale it up. And this is what CX and behavioral designers call function-focused design. And it optimizes for efficiency and usability. So it treats the customer journey as a series of operational problems to be solved. And there's nothing wrong with that question. There really isn't, because efficiency matters, scale matters, operational excellence matters. But the problem is when that's the only question being asked. So One of my mentors in behavioral design is Yukai Chao, and he created the octalysis framework. It's one of the most widely used behavioral design models in the world. So he makes a distinction that I think is critical for everyone in this room to hear right now. It's a line between what's called function-focused design and human-focused design. So function-focused design, it assumes that people are going to take the desired action because you tell them to do it. So it treats customers like units moving through a system. And your job as a designer, as someone working in a business, is to maximize throughput and minimize friction. So it's a factory model. Now, human-focused design starts from a completely different place. It optimizes for people, their feelings, their motivations, their vulnerabilities, and their context. And it assumes that people have very specific reasons why they do or don't want to engage. And it designs around those specific reasons. So I hope you can see this isn't a philosophical distinction. It's a design choice with measurable consequences, especially when it comes to AI implementation. And right now, the vast majority of AI deployments across industries all over the world are function-focused. So the question being asked is, what function can we replace? And the answer, pretty much universally, is customer service. Am I right? Now, when you design AI to replace a function rather than to serve a person, you inherit a structural flaw. And it's a flaw that shows up across every industry, every time. And most organizations can't see it until the damage is already done. So Forrester's 2025 CX Index confirmed what many of you may suspect. And that's that customer satisfaction scores hit an all-time low for the 4th consecutive year. So we're talking about 4 years of major decline during the exact same period that AI investment in customer experience has accelerated faster than anyone ever thought possible. So can you all see that this is not a coincidence? There's a direct correlation. Yeah. So what it does is it raises a question, and I think it's worth exploring this particular question, which is, what if the reason that AI keeps failing the customer experience is not a technology problem at all? What if it's a design problem? And what if every industry is actually making the exact same mistake? So to really see the structural flaw in action, what I want to do is walk you through a few examples, different industries, different technologies, different customers, the same exact mistake. So first of all, the aviation industry. So Air Canada depicted an AI chatbot to handle customer inquiries on their website. Now, a customer named Jake Moffat had lost his grandmother. So he actually went to the Air Canada website and to book a flight to his grandmother's funeral. And he asked the chatbot about bereavement fares. Now, the chatbot told him he could book at full price and then apply for a bereavement discount within 90 days. So based on that information, he went ahead, booked the ticket, paid over $1,600. Now, when he later on applied for the discount, Air Canada told him the chatbot was wrong and that bereavement fares don't work that way, and they denied the request. So Moffat actually challenged this, and Air Canada made an argument that I think says everything about the mindset behind function-focused AI. So they argued that the chatbot was a separate legal entity from the company, and that Air Canada couldn't be held liable for what it told its customers. And the tribunal basically disagreed and ruled that Air Canada was fully liable. So this is what really matters for the conversation we're having here right now, and it's that the chatbot was designed to deflect support tickets. It wasn't designed for the moment that a grieving person needed compassionate, empathetic information to get to a funeral. So the function that it was optimized for and the moment that the customer found themselves in were actually completely misaligned. So here's an example now from the insurance industry, because you're going to see this across every industry. United Healthcare deployed an algorithm to determine coverage for elderly patients. Now, when human reviewers examine the same cases, they actually overturn the AI's decisions 90% of the time. Now, the AI was not malfunctioning. It was actually doing exactly what it was designed to do, which was processing claims through the lens of cost efficiency. It was answering the question, can we justify denying this claim? But the human reviewers brought something that the algorithm structurally could not, and that's the ability to see the full context of a person's situation, to weigh factors that don't reduce to data points, and to apply professional judgment about what the right outcome should be for the specific human being, right? So these were patients who'd already been prescribed this kind of care by their doctor. So the question was never, do they need this? Of course they need this. It was actually said so by the doctor. So the right question was actually, how do we fulfill on our obligation to this particular human? Same case, same data, completely different question, am I right? And the distance between those two questions, that is the AI experience gap. Now, this is where the gap is most dangerous. So the highest staked moments in your customer journey, the ones where the person on the other end actually needs you the most, those are exactly the moments where function-focused AI falls the furthest short, because those moments require context, it requires judgment, and it requires an orientation towards the person that function-focused systems are not designed to have. So this pattern, it doesn't stop at aviation or insurance. In retail, a Forrester study found that 66% of retailers actually now target first-time visitors with AI-driven personalization, but only 38% of customers actually want it at that particular stage. So the personalization engine was designed to maximize conversions. It wasn't designed around what a first-time visitor actually needs, and that's the time and space to build trust and to build relationship at their own pace. So in banking, AI customer service actually consistently fails at the moments that matter most. So when a scam victim needed to secure his NatWest accounts right away, he spent 3 calls fighting through AI loops before reaching an actual human being, right? So research shows that 61% of bank customers end up contacting human agents because chatbot interactions actually failed them. And the failures happen exactly around the situations where customers are the most vulnerable. So we're talking about fraud, we're talking about urgent security concerns, we're talking about complex financial decisions that require judgment. So the AI was designed to reduce support volume, right? But it wasn't designed to support customers dealing with the most financially stressful situations of their entire lives. So this is the pattern, talking about 4 industries, aviation, insurance, retail, and banking, and the same structural flaw every single time. So in every case, the AI was designed around what the company needed from that interaction. We're talking about ticket deflection, claims processing, conversion optimization, and call reduction volume, right? But in every case, the person on the other end actually needed something completely different from that interaction. They needed accuracy, they needed empathy, space, and trust. This is the AI experience gap. It's the distance between what the AI was designed to optimize for and what the customer actually needs when they encounter it. So every single organization who's deploying AI has this gap. So whether you're in financial services, retail, telecom, insurance, any other industry, and I've had a chance to talk to many of you here in the room, the pattern is the same. So the question is whether you can see it. So if this gap is so widespread, why aren't more organizations catching it? Because the amount of spend is absolutely huge. Now, there are 2 reasons. One is structural and one is organizational. So let's go ahead and start with the structural reasons. The feedback systems that most organizations rely on were actually built on a world where humans were delivering the experience, right? So when a human agent has a bad interaction, well, guess what happens? There's actually a trail, right? A complaint, an escalation, some kind of survey response, a team lead who ultimately overhears it, and those signals travel through the organization, and eventually they reach someone who can actually act on it. So when AI delivers the experience, though, those signals actually go completely quiet because customers don't tend to argue with chatbots, am I right? They don't care enough. They don't fill out satisfaction surveys after a failed automation interaction, right? They don't write complaint letters to algorithms. Instead, they just leave quietly. And the really interesting things is that the organization's dashboards keep showing green because the metrics being tracked, resolution time, ticket volume, cost per interaction, are all function-focused metrics. So they're going in the right direction. But guess what? The system is performing exactly in the way that it's designed. But the customer's gone, and nobody noticed it. So the organizational reason is something some of you may recognize from your own companies. So in a lot of organizations, the team responsible for AI deployment and the team responsible for customer experience don't share the same KPIs or the same timelines, right? And the result is that experience design happens after the technology architecture is set rather than forming it right from the start. So that disconnect, it's not anybody's fault, right? It's a structural and an organizational problem. But it's one big reason why the AI experience gap exists, right? So regardless of whether you're leading kind of strategy in your organization or building conversational AI or multi-channel infrastructure, digital transformation, you name it, this misalignment is impacting your investments and your work. And this is kind of where the real cost starts to accumulate. So research shows that 32% of customers actually leave after a single bad interaction, and 92% will abandon a company after 2 or 3 negative interactions. So those negative interactions can be small. It can be a confusing onboarding flow, a chatbot that loops through unhelpful responses, an automated process that locks an account with no path forward for resolution, or a personalization engine that feels intrusive rather than genuinely helpful. So each one of these things chips away at the trust that your organization worked so hard to build. Because AI is actually delivering these experiences at scale, the erosion can happen across hundreds, thousands, even millions of interactions simultaneously, and sometimes with nobody in the organization aware that it's actually happening. So what does it look like to close the AI experience gap? And what changes when you shift from function-focused design to human-focused AI design? Well, it actually starts with redesigning the customer journey, and not the company's workflow. So you want to look at it from the orientation of the customer. And every customer journey has 4 distinct phases, and each one has different psychology, different needs, and different risks. So they're discovery, onboarding, scaffolding, and endgame. And when you design your customer journey for the entire, all 4 phases, it really changes things. So discovery is how someone finds you, how they evaluate you. And it's a period of curiosity mixed with skepticism while trust is being formed. Onboarding is the critical first impression after they commit. So motivation's high, but it's fragile, right? And doubts can creep in super fast. So this phase actually sets the emotional tone for everything that follows. Scaffolding is sometimes known as the long middle, where the novelty has worn off and life intrudes. And this is where a lot of customers quietly disappear. And a lot of organizations have nothing designed for this particular phase. Finally, endgame is where the relationship is either cemented for the long term. How many of you have customers who've been with you for years, right? Years and years and years. I've had some for up to 9 years. Yeah, right. So this is where you can cement for the long term, or it ends with a whimper. And most organizations just end with a whimper. But the ones who design for this phase deliberately can see disproportionate results in retention, referral, and lifetime value. And when it costs more to acquire a lead now, optimizing for the customer journey oftentimes makes a lot more sense than throwing more money at marketing. But here's the problem. Most AI deployments are actually concentrated in just 1 or 2 of these phases, really in the discovery and also early onboarding. So they're designed also around functional metrics, such as how fast can we respond, how many tickets can we close, and how much volume can we absorb. So they're ignoring the emotional reality of each of these phases entirely. Now, human-focused AI design means asking a really different set of questions at every AI touchpoint across the journey. So would you all like a few questions that you can take back to your teams and start applying this week? Yeah, to really look at the AI deployment in different ways. Beautiful. So these work regardless of your industry, also regardless of your function, because the structural mistake, like you've seen, is the same everywhere. So the very first question is, what does someone need from this specific moment. And you're talking about the customer here. So a first-time customer who's exploring your product versus a long-term customer who's hitting basically a client who's hitting that problem 6 months in, and a frustrated user, right, who's about to cancel. All three of those audience members, all three of those customers need different things from the exact same system. So while function-focused AI treats them identically, human-focused design recognizes the moment and adapts. So think about it in terms of the 4 journey phases. What does a customer in discovery actually need? They need space, and they need trust. They're evaluating you at this stage. They don't want to be sold to yet. They want to explore, and they want to build confidence at their own pace. Now, if you remember that retail example, 66% of companies are pushing AI-driven personalization at first-time visitors, but only 38% of customers actually want it at that particular point. So this mismatch, it's not a technology failure, it's a failure to understand what the person needs from that moment, right? So a customer on onboarding now, they need to feel confident that they made the right decision. So this is the most vulnerable point in your entire customer journey. So if the AI at this particular phase feels generic, confusing, or impersonal, you're going to lose people. And this doesn't happen eventually. This happens super quickly. A customer in the long middle, scaffolding, needs to feel like their continued investment is paying off. It's worth it. They got to see progress. They got to feel that someone, right, or something recognizes their ongoing commitment. And finally, a customer reaching that end game phase needs to feel that their relationship was worthwhile, and it's worth deepening, it's worth continuing. There's a place for them to go and continue their evolution in the company. Now, can you see that AI that serves a customer in crisis in the same way that it serves a customer browsing for the first time has already failed, regardless of how fast it resolves a particular ticket, yeah? Y'all see that? Now, here's question number 2. So if this moment goes wrong, will anyone in my organization actually know? And this is about building the feedback architecture, right, that AI has silenced. It's got to be rebuilt in real time. So every AI touchpoint needs built-in signal detection, looking at the drop-off patterns, the sentiment shifts, repeat contacts, and behavioral signals that indicate a customer's losing trust. So you're going to look for the low points that can erode an experience and the transitions where the customer needs to feel acknowledged and instead felt invisible. So the goal is to design your AI touchpoints to surface experience failures to the right humans in real time, not in a quarterly report, because if your AI is creating trust fractures, you need to find out within hours, not within months. So here's something important for everyone here in this room, regardless of your function. This is also the data that can change internal conversations significantly. So when you show stakeholders in the company what the AI is actually doing to customer trust, with very specific signals and specific moments, the conversation about how experience design and AI deployment work together quickly shifts. All right, question number 3. What happens when this moment needs an actual human being, right? What happens? So the handoff between AI and a human agent is actually one of the most emotionally loaded moments in the entire customer journey. So a customer has already failed to get what they need from the AI, right? And so it arrives at the human interaction, frustrated and skeptical and with diminished trust. So function-focused design treats this as a routing problem. Human-focused design treats it as a trust recovery moment. So how that context is transferred to the human agent, whether the customer has to repeat themselves, whether the human acknowledges what just happened, these details determine whether you recover the relationship or whether you lose it permanently. And here's something worth noting, right? Research in behavioral psychology actually shows that recovering well from a negative moment can actually build more customer loyalty than if everything had gone smoothly to begin with. So a customer who hits a problem and then gets a thoughtful handoff to a human who acknowledges what happens and then resolves it with care can actually walk away more loyal than a customer who never had a problem whatsoever. So that means the handoff moment, it's not just damage control. Design well, this is one of the highest value moments in your entire customer journey. And most organizations spend almost no time designing for it. So the ones that do are going to see disproportionate impact on retention, satisfaction, and ultimately lifetime customer values. And the ones who don't, well, let's just say that the legal and the regulatory landscape has started to catch up to this problem. So 2026 is the year where AI liability moves from theoretical to operational. So we already saw it with Air Canada, who is held fully liable for what the chatbot told a grieving customer. That ruling set a precedent that if your AI says it, your company owns it, regardless of who built the system, right? And if that was just one chatbot giving one customer wrong information about a bereavement fare, now multiply that across every single AI-powered interaction in your customer journey. So it's no wonder that insurance companies are now writing broad AI exclusions into their policies. So the safety net that organizations assume they have may not be there when they actually need it. And the legal exposure, is just the visible cost that you can point to. So the larger cost here, the one that should concern everyone in this room even more, is that the experience debt that starts to accumulate invisibly across your AI-powered customer journey. Soon as you turn that on. So every month that your AI touch points remain function-focused is another month of potentially eroding trust, another month of silent churn, and another month of compounding damage to customer relationships that may have taken you years to build. So the organizations who are going to lead in this next phase of CX are not necessarily the one with the most advanced AI. They're the ones who recognize this problem early on and understood that the question, what function can we replace, was always incomplete. So the ones who started asking the question that actually determines whether any of this is going to work. And that is, what does the person on the other end of this interaction or this automation need from this exact moment? And this shift in question is available to every organization here. And the ones that actually make it are going to close this AI experience gap before it becomes a liability. And the ones who don't, well, they're going to keep making the same mistake that every industry is making across the board right now and wondering why the outcomes don't approve. So this is what we do here at the Experience Group, and we work with organizations to find and close the AI experience gap. And we design customer journeys around human-focused design principles grounded in behavioral science frameworks tested across thousands of organizations. So everything that I've talked about today raises that question, which is, where does this gap live in your organization? All right? So what phase of your customer journey is most exposed? And what are the function-focused blind spots that you can't see from the inside? So we actually built something to help you answer that. It's called the X Factor CX Scorecard, and it's at our booth. So here's how it works. We've got a game board with 36 proven experience design drivers mapped across all 4 phases of the journey: discovery, onboarding, scaffolding, and endgame. You just place a colored tile on each one: green for dialed in, yellow for needs work, and red for missing. It takes about 5 minutes, and it's our gift to you. Then just snap a photo, upload it with our QR code, and our platform will analyze your board and send you a customized report with your overall score, your strongest phases, your biggest gaps, and also recommended next steps. So this is a real diagnostic, and the patterns that show up on the board tend to map to the kind of invisible experience failures that we've been talking about today. So I got my colleagues over there. We got Richard, and we've got Robin, and we've got Day. Raise your hand, guys. Yeah, over there. And they're going to be at the booth for the rest of the summit. So come play the board, get your results, and let's talk about what shows up, all right? 5 minutes on the board could really change how you approach this, even if you're not focused on AI implementation right now. So regardless of your role, this stuff really works, and we look forward to talking with you after the session's over. Thank you so very much. All right. Yeah.